Hello, YouTubes. AJ, Virginia, chat.
What's up,
Hello.
y'all?
Ooh. So I got to do my pleasantries. One second. And y'all talk way too much before we get started.
Okay. I hope my wife gets in here soon so I can see what the chat actually is looking like.
Okay, there are way too many names to go all the way from the top. So I'll just Stars, Doc, Joe, Fish Sticks, Leslie, Thermite, Backwoods, everybody. What's going on? Reaper, Jeep, Spotted Fawn, Monty, Wizard, Lucy, Sophia. Yeah, y'all talking way too much. Okay, I'm at the bottom now. Native, what's up? So, hello everybody in chat. Y'all talk too much. I can't go through all those names. But appreciate y'all for being here. We are on number 2 of the Think Tank to the Community idea, and today we're basically going to be talking about the start of an infrastructure. Everything we talked about last week, cool beans, good to go. But I'm saying that's not going to have too much play into what we do here today. Right now is basically we're gonna try to establish the amount of people per space, and things like that, the buildings that we need to have first, the infrastructure, all these things, and that's kind of where we're going to aim today. It goes where it goes. I don't have too many notes on this because I want to leave it open and see where the chat takes it and where the panel takes it, and I'll take my notes and like I said, there's going to be at least 6 or 7 of these, and we're going to double up on topics just to fine tune things, and that's the way it's going to be. And that's this is number 2, so let's get into it. Okay, so well, I guess I'll go to the notebook and the pictures here.
Good, I like pictures. I just got my nuclear shelter, and I was looking for a lot more pictures. They got a lot of words in it, so the more pictures you got, the better off I'll be.
I tried to make it a pop-up, but I couldn't figure it out. So this is an outline of 40 acres. This is for sale in Missouri right now for $77,000. Okay, simple, easy, straight line structure, easy to fence, easy to lay out. So it's a good reference point. This is the angle from the other side, so you can see the surrounding areas. It's a road on 2 sides and then field on the other 2. You see it's pretty much out in the middle of nowhere. So that kind of gives you a concept of the stream tonight. Will basically be building off of this picture. Oh, I'm pushing too many buttons. Okay, so AJ, I sent you copies. I know. Sorry, y'all, if they're not as organized as I should be. So
Yeah,
I sent.
not have them.
Huh?
And I do not have them. Sorry, they're printed off on my desk at work.
No, you don't need. I was just saying. I sent him the sizes, and from what I've put together myself, 40 acres, 20 acres, it doesn't really matter. I'm trying to basically a 5-acre plot. Okay, scratch everything I just said. We're on the 40 acres, so let's just go with 40 acres. I personally would say dedicate 5 acres to nothing but living situation. I would say 3 acres for housing, residential areas, and then 2 acres for a community area, shower house, parks and things like that, guest areas. That's kind of where I'm at, but I haven't gone too much farther than that. I mean, I have, but nothing that would apply here. You know what I mean?
And how many families are you thinking here?
And
so
see,
that's 40 acres.
That's where we need to try to dial it in and see what seems like a reasonable number. Because like if you take into account the cost of the property, you're going to need so many people to make the cost feasible. But if you've only got 5 people, then those 5 people are going to have to come up with a shit ton of money to make it. You know what I mean? So the more people, the easier the financial burden. But we don't want it to be so crowded that everybody's sitting on top of each other. So that balance, we got to try to find.
That's
right. So if you did like 3 three areas basically that had 4 families in them, maybe just spread up across that, going off of kind of what you're saying as far as area wise goes per acreage. I don't know if that would work out or not, because if you did like a half acre ish per family, and then you had like a centralized bathhouse per 4 families, so you'd have it like set up like a cube, and you'd have a bathhouse that have like, you know, your shower, toilet areas sectioned off into 4 areas. I don't know if that's something you're thinking about, or you
Mhm.
could use like that potentially, because
Yeah,
like,
see, I'm kind of going off the reference of if anybody's ever been to a state park or a truck stop,
Yep.
you've got the men's and women's. It's just a plain cinder block building.
Yeah.
Men's side, women's side, 5 toilets, 5 showers, 5 toilets, 5 showers. Simple, easy peasy, done. One central heater, whatever, you know, however that works. Something along those lines. But it's when you get a certain amount of people, it could come cost prohibitive if that's the right word. Because I mean, if you've got 30 people living on a property, the hot water's not going to last very long. You know what I mean? And you got to, you know what I'm saying? The balance is weird.
Well, you know what I picture? I don't know if anyone's ever camped at KOA campsites.
Oh, yeah.
But I picture that combined with using the perimeter of that 40 acres for your homes and creating a central pod where everyone, that is where the agriculture is, that is where skilled needs are met, that is where you might have a huge building that's a community kitchen, bathhouse, etc., kind of like a Viking longhouse that people can use together, but each person in the perimeter, uh, 40 acres, by that you can keep families with some autonomy. No one wants to be all on top of each other. And having the resources in the center, then everyone kind of goes in from their outer point. That also puts eyes on your whole perimeter.
Yeah. Yeah. And protects everything that you have in the center, whether it be your garden, your medical center, you know, your woodworking, your blacksmithing, whatever's in that center, it's protected by everybody around the outside. That's a good idea.
Yeah. See, strategy is important. And see, the thing about that, let me see. Let me bring this picture back up again. See, like the way this is lined up, you know, you've got 2 roads on the sides. So if you have a certain amount of properties, you can spread them down the down the sides of the road. That way people have road access.
Right.
But then trying to, you know, because like if you go down each road and just build your property line, you know, your lot lines on the road sides of each one, then that leaves you the entire, you know, section there. But yet it gives you a little bit of privacy, but it also puts you farther away from the things that need to be watched. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of freaking property. You know what I mean?
Or even in an L shape along those roads, because you're right, people need access to get out and go to wherever they might need to go, or have easy access just in case something did happen and you all had to abandon or jump ship, you know? So lining up residents with thoughtfulness to people being able to not only guard, but to get out if they had to.
Right.
Yeah, because you could actually.
Like the other side is all forest. Sorry, yeah, I was just saying the forest kind of helps along that line, you know, to shield.
Yeah, and if you're lined up along that L outpost every so often on the opposite L pattern there, to where if you didn't want houses back there, you could have outposts where you have people running security out there or whatever. Now, to try to, you know, cover that area a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And see, like in a situation like that, to where if you placed it in the L shape along the roads, that would save you literally thousands of dollars in gravel in trying to build roads for an infrastructure.
Yep.
So like that's always a possibility. Like, but you know, not every piece of land is going to be double sided like this, obviously. But
right. But if it is, and while everything's good and everything's running good, then you have easier access to utilities and everything like that as well, because they're probably running down both them roads anyways, depending on where you are.
Mhm.
That would see, just the fact alone, like if you take advantage of your environment, obviously you can save tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in infrastructure, just because, you know, if you have to run like, so in this community, we haven't got to the point to where we've figured out the electricity situation or anything like that yet. So if you leave the possibility open to where each lot can be responsible for getting their own meter put in, that takes a lot of burden off the rest of the community. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
agreed.
you've got to have that access, because, you know, I think it's to run line is pretty freaking expensive.
Mhm.
So, you know, it's like what, $4, $5, $6 a foot sometimes. So,
Wow.
you know, if you're 200 feet away from the closest pole and every property wants power, you know, that's going to be extremely pricey. You know?
So would this be setting up more for doing like right now type of how it's going, or looking at survival situations, or is it setting up right now how everything's going decent and then working into
So would this be setting up
Yeah.
the
more
survival situation?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. You know what I'm saying? Like, if this could be established tomorrow, how would we want it to look? And then pretty much once you get the baseline established, you know what I'm saying? Because like you can't just jump into, oh, we're going off grid, we're going to do this. That's going to destroy a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? So you
Right. Oh yeah.
got to do it during the happy times when you can have those amenities and slowly wean yourself off. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So then trying to stay along the main roads the best you can would be ideal. And then use that back acreage. If you have that L-shaped availability, then use that back acreage to kind of plot and plan around.
I see, like, I was working on a scale drawing of that piece of land. That way, because when you're talking about, okay, we want 5 acres dedicated to this or 10 acres dedicated to this, you know, it's nice to have that visual. Okay, we've got this much land left. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm slacking on my bad. Next time, I promise. But
yeah, it goes way fast once you start chipping away 5 acres at a time out of 40 acres.
Yeah,
especially
Oh,
if you
100%.
bring livestock in and
Yeah.
so it's hold on, where do I want to jump off from here?
Well, one of my pervading thoughts is water. If we're talking about growing your own food and having some animals and having the amenities of plumbing, I would assume wells would be the better choice than grid water.
Absolutely.
And so would you be doing multiple wells? And, you know, would those be on each corner or just concentrated, or, you know, what is the best way to distribute water? Because you don't want people huffing water all the way across the field to do the plants and animals. It's got to be accessible pretty much everywhere.
Well, see, I've kind of got that budgeted into a Missouri budget, you know, based on that land. And a well, like my well is super deep. You know, like it's almost 400 foot deep. You know, that is definitely not normal. You know what I mean? So,
Wow.
From personal experience and the people I've talked to, I figure roughly $10,000 to $15,000 in the budget dedicated to nothing but the well and the plumbing that will go off into community buildings, somewhere in that range. So I've got the well budgeted into the final plan, which will, you know, it's included in the price of the membership and all that good stuff. Because I think a well would be the best way to go, but I've only got budgeted one well so far. You know what I mean? So like that's basically if you come into it and you guarantee the people you've got this piece of land to do your thing on, and I guarantee you a toilet and a shower. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much where I've stopped from there. Anything as far as watering crops or cattle, I have not got that far yet.
So I've got a silly question on that. You could buy roughly, this was a year or two ago, roughly a machine that could, bore a well about 200 feet deep for about $20,000. Now, would it be worth looking into that type of a thing if you're going to try to set up communities to where you're going to drill several wells that are going to be potentially anywhere between 10 and 15,000? Would that be something that maybe if you had people kind of pre-set up to buy, like you're already pre-building your community before you actually start doing it, and you go, okay, we're going to buy this, so that we can have the water and we can have a bathhouse ready to rock and roll, because that's the main things is the water, shelter, and a way to stay warm. So
see, that's the thing. The only thing that like when it comes to the homestead friendly land, that's really the only, like the water is one of the main things that you can know. Like when they dig a well, they have to report it to the environmental office in that state, because the state needs to know who's tapped into the water. You know what I mean? Right. That way, if somebody poisons the stream, everybody who's connected to that stream can be notified. Blah blah blah. So I'm not sure the legality of actually having a well company, or if it's just as simple as, hey, we dug a well, here's the paperwork. You know what I mean? So that's something I'm going to have to look into. But I'm assuming that it's a private company, because I've seen some of the rednecks that do this shit, and they don't look like government employees. You know what I mean?
I'm a government employee. Come on, man. You just do it in the dark.
Right.
Just put lights on your equipment, drill in the dark, and pretend like you don't know what the hell that hole is.
So is there running water near that property that can be harnessed for either irrigation and gardening or for power?
For that property itself, no. A well would be the only option, unless it happens to have a spring on it, which I don't think that it does.
Mm-hmm.
It'd probably be in the listing if it did.
Yeah. Like obviously, if you live next to a creek or something, then you can start. Hell, you can even turn that into a hydro plant and start making your power that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the dream would be to have something that has a constant year-round flow. Stream or something like that. That would be the dream, because then, boy, you could do all kinds. You know what I'm saying? The sky's the limit when you got that.
Yeah, and you could also set up little personal, which you have to go legalities on this too, but personal rain catchment systems on each property.
All right.
Kind of have a little bit of a leeway there maybe for that type of a thing.
Yeah, see, that's where your state comes in, and your county that you choose to buy your land in plays a big part in, that you can do that. And then a lot of it comes down to, you can just say, fuck the government, don't snitch on me, I'm catching rainwater. You know what I mean? So it's, but my bad, world. But like you were saying, like a truck would be a good investment, because like this concept, the theory of this concept is based on a biker club. Plain and simple. It's based on an MC, and in the same as an MC world, you can have different chapters. You know what I mean? So if I've got, hey, we got this chapter, okay, we got the Hickory County chapter, blah blah blah, the Colorado, you know what I mean, something like that. So like if you can get established to where you're building chapters, then a well truck would be a damn good investment, because it would literally save you a shit ton of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The only reason I even knew kind of a rough estimate was because I was considering punching a well where we put our orchard at, because of what it was costing to haul, or hoses, everything like that. And then I was starting to think about how much water I was going to use out of my well, and if it was getting into drought season or something like that, I didn't want to be pumping too much water to my orchard if I needed it for the actual homestead. So I was kind of looking at punching a well there. And that was one of the reasons why I started looking those up, was because I got an estimate on a well, and I thought, for that kind of money, I could probably find a way to punch my own well. Right. And plus, then when I just pulled the hand pump well that we had and I dropped everything down the hole, it would have been pretty nice to have something to pull it up out of there.
Right. Well, like they've got the videos. I'll send it to you after a while if I can find it. But just the regular hand tap wells, to where you just do the spinny thing and just keep pushing rods down until you hit water.
Oh, okay.
I'll send that to you after a while. But then you've got to also think like, like say Texas, for instance. If you did a well in Texas, you're drawing from a community cistern. You just got a giant cave that everybody's tapped into, and it can be deployed. In Missouri, you're catching underground streams. You know what I mean? So you're catching flowing water and just shooting it up. So it's, you know what I'm saying? You can go empty on a stream, if everybody and their mama, the lake levels, et cetera, you can lose water pressure both ways. So that's another thing is, if how much water is each person, I want to say allotted, because that, that's a fucked up term, but I don't know.
Kind of do it in such a fashion where you're trying to preserve water as much as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
And kind of give people guidelines to go by, maybe a guideline instead of you're allotted this much. This is your guidelines. Try to stay within this much to help, extend your survival potential out X amount of time.
Right.
Maybe.
I think water is probably the largest hurdle to overcome. Style of homes and where they're located and all of that water is going to determine all of that.
Oh yeah.
Where your sources are and where is good, and not to mention all the testing of the soils and the area that the EPA stuff, provided they're still an organization, is a lot of red tape as far as what you're allowed for human consumption and use.
Well, yeah, and keeping your septics, or however you're disposing of your waste.
That's what I was
100 feet
thinking
away,
of, a septic pond. A septic pond seems like it would be the only logical choice. I mean, at least coming from the community showers and the community bathroom and all that good stuff.
Right.
A septic pond just seems like the logical choice. A septic tank would be a nightmare. Every 2 months, $300 to get the damn thing emptied. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a septic pond you could actually use to your advantage to run your dark water, your whatever, gray water, whatever the hell it is, into your crops or something like that to make everything multifunction. You know what I mean? So it could be like a tier system.
Like if you filtered it down good enough. I don't know what a septic pond with the water is like off of there. I don't know if you'd have to filter it down more to put it on your plants, or if that top water is good enough. Because I know they put a lot of those plants and monitor bacteria and everything like that inside of it, or well, I think they do anyways, in the plants around there for specific reasons of trying to pull all the bad stuff out of there. So then is it good enough to go ahead and put on there, or is there another filtering system? It would seem like if it's already out there and it's separated that much and you got the UV, you'd be able to do it, but
Right. That's a good point, Biak. So know the history of the area so you're not downstream from a tannery or chemical plant or anything like that, even something that was used and torn down and no evidence left. It still could have leached the ground.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not ignoring y'all in chat. I promise. I was just not pushing buttons.
yeah, you got a lot going on right now.
Mm-hmm. We talked about composting toilets the other day. I don't know where I was, but that's another option. It takes time to process, but there are people who build the composting toilets, and then you can use that material after processing in a certain amount of time. But it's one way to handle waste, because if we think about if the infrastructure went down as it is where we all live, one of the first things that's going to suck the most is if we do not have trash pickup, waste disposal, running water, and the basic things that your city sort of provides,
Yeah, we were just looking at those yesterday.
Incinerator.
Yeah, we were looking at incinerators, but also
yeah.
the composting piles.
Mm-hmm.
And those piles really aren't as much work as they sound like or would seem like it would be. They're really not too difficult, it doesn't seem like.
Right. And then add on top of that, if that's just one or two person's designated job, then that just makes it that much easier. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What about a system like I was looking, because I'm plotting on getting a pond dug. So say roughly a 1/4 acre pond out here at the deepest, 8 foot deep, kind of slope down 8 foot deep at the deepest, is about $6,000. So if you're looking along those lines, having somebody do it, obviously, if you got a Bobcat or a backhoe, you can just do that shit yourself in a weekend. But, budget wise, or practical wise, if you have a septic pond and then kind of maybe like an overflow smaller pond, maybe half the size to catch the runoff, and then you incorporate like the cattails and all the garden lily, or the lilies and all the other shit that's going to purify it. That way you kind of got like a natural boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But how much space would that take up? You know what I mean? You figure it wouldn't take, if we're still on the 5 acre minimum or maximum principle of residence area, then would you figure 1 acre would be enough for 2 ponds?
That's a pretty good sized pond, 1 acre. I mean,
Right.
2 ponds. That's a pretty good sized pond.
Overall, I think, yes, absolutely. That's a good point, Wizard. It could be an insurance reduction to have a pond because it's a fire protection.
Yeah.
A water source real close, ready to go.
I hear you, Mojo. Stop yelling at me. Damn, man.
Well, Adrian made a good point with that as far as if we're talking multiple wells and we're talking about digging a lot of holes.
Oh, yeah.
It might be better to just get the equipment and then you can dig your own freaking hole wherever you want. If you need another one, dig it, rather than piecemealing it out. Because this thing could nickel and dime you to death if there are people with the trades and the skills to really get in there and grunt it done. And the least amount of contractors, the better.
Right. I agree on. See, that's the only thing. Like, the well thing is the only thing that kind of worries me, because like where we're at, we just start getting into the limestone, the sinkhole type shit that they got down in Florida. So if you get so far, then you've got gaps in the wall. You've got, what I'm saying, like you can have a 15-foot section to where there's literally nothing from 3 foot around that pipe just dangling. So it's something crazy, and that pipe is underground shaking like this. So they had to come in, like the reason my stuff was so expensive, like $1,800 worth of filler that they had to pour down the hole to keep the pipe straight for all the little gaps and stuff. So that's the thing that worries me about doing a well privately, is because, I personally have no idea how they would even begin to assume how to do that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's a good point.
As far as digging a pond, give me a backhoe and get out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good point, actually, because I was talking to Heartland a little bit before we started this, and he was telling me that he's been looking at some seismic stuff and everything, and those tornadoes that just went through like Kentucky and everything, those were bad enough that they were causing seismic shit to show up, however it does on the scale or whatever. So if you've got a pipe hanging there and you've got, say, 4 foot of dead space, and that thing starts moving because of even something like a natural disaster like that, never would have thought about that until you were talking about that, and then thinking back to him. Yeah, that's a very good point on that type of stuff.
Right. It's kind of like trying to build a utopia. People of like minds getting together, sharing space. It'll all be roses, But the reality is different families are going to use different amounts of resources, be it water, food, heat, and are going to require more than others. So in order for it not to go crumbling down and people strangling each other, just out of principle, because cabin fever is real, even on a nice little spot, I think there has to be accountability measures in place, whether it's essentially some metering and whatever, but it's a fine line between this community and a straight up commune where everyone's equal, everything's flat share, because that's not going to be the case. People are going to contribute more than others, and people are going to need more than others. How do you reconcile that? You know what I mean?
See, the thing that I was kind of tossing around in my head is like, okay, well, I've made it to where there's 4 possible sizes of properties. 100 by 100, which is a 1/4 acre, 50 by 50, which is 1/8 of an acre, or 25 by 25, which is 1/16 of an acre. That's basically a parking spot, van life, people, campers. You know what I'm saying? You're 80 years old and live in a camper. You don't need a freaking giant yard. You know what I mean? You just need your parking lot. You know what I'm saying? And then there's the option of a bunkhouse, if applicable. I'll put it that way. That's in there because it's some people want that communal living, some people want that privacy.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be in there as an option. You know what I mean? But it's fine tuning the numbers to make it right. So imagine you're living on 5 acres. Imagine you're living on 3 acres. AJ, you live on 3 acres. I live on 3 acres. So I kind of visualize it. So imagine 60 people on that 3 acres. Is that too much? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Look
Oh,
at
yeah.
it from that aspect. You know?
For me, it would be entirely too much.
Hmm.
But
But don't think just adults though. You got to think if it's 60 people, say it's 40 adults and 20 children under the age of 15. Does that change the concept? You know what I mean?
60 people, let's say, is about 12 families. So 12 families on 3 acres will be 4 families per acre. I mean, that is a tight squeeze. I'm not going to lie. I live on a shy acre, and I'm just thinking about 3 other entire households on this same spot. You're right on top of each other. So I don't know. I do think it's a little bit too much.
Okay, so now imagine that, but take that 3 acres and spread it out over 40.
yeah, if
You know what I mean?
that way, that would be different because then you're getting that space in there.
Yeah. See, because I think that's where a lot of people are getting confused. They're like, "Oh, I've got only a quarter acre lot. That's way not big enough." But you don't need anything on that lot but your family. You know what I mean? Everything else is being taken care of over here. I mean, we got the garden thing and all that, blah blah, but that don't take no space.
Mhm.
And they feel like they think it's a suburban street. We're going down a cul-de-sac. It's house, 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 house. Turn around, house, house. But you can have it 3 houses over here, an acre between 2 houses here, 5 acres over here. You've got 1 house. You know what I mean? So it can be split up.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be a you know what I'm saying? Like the town hall idea, or the city center idea, definitely without doubt, the majority of everything is going to be there because most people who would jump into this kind of thing, they're city people anyway. So they, you know what I'm saying? They want that. I want to be out in the wild, but I want to be able to see my neighbors because, you know, there might be a serial killer in the fucking trees. You know what I mean? So you got to cater to both. The people who like, don't ever look at me, don't talk to me, just leave me alone. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to go back to my lot. You know what I mean? Okay, well, you go pick in the corner. The people who are like, hey, I need to be friends with everybody. Then, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not one community. So if it's 3 acres of housing, 2 acres of community buildings and things, then say it's 3.5 or 4 acres of a town square, and then 1 acre to 2 acres spread out throughout the rest of the property. Does that, you know what I'm saying? Does that help the amount of people situation any?
I think one thing. Sorry, AJ, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, yeah, because the way you're explaining it makes it a lot to where you do get that broader view of how you could potentially break that up a lot. And then just like still having that community center because, and my wife said it best earlier, actually, now that you guys are talking like this, you know, her and I and Hutch are kind of spoiled to this, you know, we don't have nobody around us. So it's really nice. You know, I don't want people around us, but if you could take my dad's 3/4 of a mile away, and that's my closest neighbor, and that's about perfect. You know, you still have there's plenty of area, and if you have 40 acres and you're splitting that many people across 40 acres, and then you have that big center, I think you're painting a good picture there. You're gonna have a lot of area there.
Yeah.
Right. I wonder about your idea of community options. So let's say there's people who don't want to see each other. I would be one of those people. I don't want to see any of you, even with binoculars. But there's going to be folks who love the community thing, or perhaps people who don't have families, just people who are on their own or just couples. And you might find some interested in having a sort of a hostel type of setup where there's like a dorm that was able to house a good number of those people. That will also bring in help and workers and people to maintain the place as a whole, but they would have the environment they like better.
Right.
it would save you space with the number of people you're talking about, because some would sign up for that.
You calm down, milkmaid. You just calm down. Right. Okay. So, I mean, I'm getting a lot of stuff that I don't know.
Everyone remembers the funny memes of Chop and Chaz and all of that, where they decided to grow a garden and they put like, what did they put? Like little baggies of dirt and bean seeds or some crap, you know?
Everybody's making fun of
so
them for the
sad.
cardboard.
They threw cardboard on concrete and threw a little bit of stuff on there. Like, oh, we're gonna grow here.
Yeah, it was asinine. So that's something, think ahead of time about companion planting, the sisterhood. What is it? The corn, the peas, and the I can't remember, but basically 3 things go right on top of each other and keep it a moving, living organism all year round. That's interesting, Ghost. Damn.
Yeah, that's a lot of water there.
Yeah.
Oh, I went hella squirrel. My bad. This just popped back in my head. My bad. So like we were saying, like the distribution of water, like if we were to limit it, so much per person, would it be like I've thought about it, but I don't know. That's why y'all are here. So if you had it, like I've got the constable as pretty much the groundskeeper for the community area. So like if you did it once a week to where the groundskeeper, whenever his crew's out mowing the community area, doing whatever the hell it is that they do, they could have like a pump truck to where each lot is saying, okay, you need to have some kind of water tower that's gravity fed, and then you get so many gallons per week for how many people you got in your house, something along those lines. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because like if you don't have to use a shower or a toilet on your own property, the only thing you're doing is washing dishes and brushing your teeth. You don't need 10,000 gallons of water a week. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But I don't know if that would be the logistics of having a pump truck go around to however many properties there are once a week. It doesn't seem like it would be like in my mind right now, it doesn't seem like it would be too hard of a thing to do. But I know that there would be some hidden, cost or whatever involved in doing something like that. You know what I mean?
Right. I think the hidden costs of that would end up burying it as a good way of using the resource.
You can't rely on rainwater though. I mean, you can to a certain extent, but say we had a year like we had last year, to where we literally had like a month and a half, 2 months of not a single drop of rain, then that kind of cancels that out for the month. I mean, if you got a big enough reserve, obviously, but then you got to get into filtration to hold water for that long without it going stagnant. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and how are you going to pump it? How are you going to move it? And then again, if you're in a good situation, like we are now, that's all fine because we all got everything we need on hand and everything. But if you get into a bad situation, survival situation, then every move you make is burning calories, making you get more and more tired. It's like doing something like that. If it's not a downhill flow, you'd have to really think about how each household's going to get from that, community-centered water out to their area. Especially if it's foreign. One of the things that is going to say is foreign.
See, that's like, it doesn't have to be a truck. Like you can get a cheap fire engine, an old pump truck for, $5,000. You know what I mean? But then it comes down to, if you're on 40 acres, it's really not that far to drive. But on the other hand, it's only 40 acres. So do you build, do you trench out lines and run spigots to certain locations and be like, okay, you guys have access to this spigot, haul your own water? Or does it have to be for an extra cost? We'll pump, we'll dig you a line to your house to give you access to water, and we'll give you a sewer line that hooks into the septic pond. You know what I mean? So how important is water on somebody's life? Is basically what it's coming down to. You know what
I
I mean?
think it's the most important thing. And I mean, I can't stress enough. People are going to, water is the most important resource for anything. And I think it'll be hard to meter. I kind of wonder, yeah, Bioxo, kind of like aqueducts. I sort of wonder if you found the points that natural water would run down. And in other words, place where you need water below where it usually rains or whatever, and if there was some catchment and some way to run it through there. In addition, every individual home, especially people coming in with their families, they're going to want water. They're going to insist on having water, showers. If you have people who start breeding, 25 people, and is it all postmenopausal? Because if you have people start breeding, you want to talk about needing water, try and deal with a baby in a community like that, or, you know, yeah, I think water is the greatest expense and needs the most careful thought.
Yeah, that's going to be the tricky one. Y'all talking about some weird stuff in the chat. See that
Right.
I'm kind of leaning to that. I think I'm going to actually put that into the bylaws, because if we've got the garden thing in the bylaws too, then that it just makes sense to have a water catchment system. I mean,
Yep.
it takes the burden off the rest of the community. So
It'll at least help buffer. It'll be a good buffering tool.
I hear you go. Yeah, that's definitely something to look into.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you're on, see, when it's something like this, like AJ was asking me earlier how many buildings I have, like just like him, eventually you accumulate buildings. You're like, what the fuck? I'm collecting buildings. You know what I mean? And it's you always need another building. So if you could take advantage of the system and say every single building is designed as a water catchment, that would work perfectly. And it still comes to the logistics of the drain lines. How many cistern type holding tanks are you going to have? Where are they going to be located? How are they going to be pumped out? How are they going to be filtered? So that's, what I'm saying, that's definitely on the table. That's definitely an option that can happen. But the logistics of it is going to be a new to figure out. Or at least right now in my head, it seems like it's going to be.
Right.
Yeah, and that'd probably be one of the first steps as far as any of this would go, would be literally mapping out the entirety of the property, how many people you would anticipate, where your water would be, where your sewage would go, to keep it far enough away from your water. That would be like the biggest longest process to it, I would think anyways, is just mapping it all out to where it seems like it's a good working system to even start trying to roll it out to
Yeah, I agree.
others.
Survey.
Yeah.
Because like obviously you can make it, everything's got to be a multi-purpose. So it's got to be, you can't have anything, there's not a single thing that can be a single purpose item. Everything has to be multi-purpose. So all the buildings would naturally have different catchment systems, just because that's the only logical thing that they could be, And Dusty was asking earlier about vertical gardens, and that's also a thing that each building can be used for. If you strategically place the building to face a certain way, then you've got 3 good sides that you can build on. One side stays open for the community, the face of the building, but you've got 3 other sides of direct sunlight plants that climb, boom, right up the back of each building. Low light plants on each side. You know what I'm saying? So you can use a lot of garden space without actually taking up a whole bunch of space.
Right. Because you already got the community garden.
Yeah.
And so then you've got, a vertical garden that's your own. So then would you have like a community like storm shelter that would be also like a root cellar then, so you can store this food, how would you go about like that type of thing? Because you can grow X amount of months or whatever, but if you really put a lot of work into it and you want these, this food to last you and these other families throughout the winter, are you going to have just one big area or are you just going to have everybody kind of responsible for their own thing, or what would the concept or thought be on that? Because
So the logic behind that as of now is eventually, okay, from a starting point, it's the water first and foremost has to be done.
Right.
Okay. So, well, I guess the land, the lots, and then the water, because you got to
Right.
figure out how things are going to be laid out before you figure out where you can put your water. So, you know what I mean? But this is where I'm stuck, is because a root cellar obviously is by far the best choice. Again, if it comes down to if somebody's got a backhoe, Mojo, I know you got a backhoe, calm down. Then you can easily just, dig you a root cellar, but then you still got to build the roof and all that other stuff. Or you can have the community building itself, like there's got to be a community building, in the top 5 things done for the showers and toilets and the community meeting hall.
Yeah.
So if you set up some kind of storage room and like a still building as a root cellar, it makes it easier, and to get it done and get functional, but that kind of limits you on, you can only pretty much do dry goods.
Right.
So it's a root cellar, or see, that's where I'm torn. That's why I need y'all.
Yeah, and that's why I was asking, because for one, it provides protection. For two, it helps you keep your food all year long. But if you've already got this big building that you're using as a community center to come to council or whatever you're going to do in there. But I like personally, I don't know how big of an area that would be, because like for my wife and me, for what I want to store, I've got a 20 by 20 area that is what I want full, from the floor to the ground that we have stacked up. That's what makes me comfortable for me and her. So if that's times 10 families, that's a big ass area. So I don't know what the real area you would need, because you don't want to actually stack your jars on top of each other, all those factors, but it would seem logical. But
yeah, it's like, see, space is the issue.
Yeah.
But like I said, you've still got roughly 2 acres of space in the community area. So, you know what I'm saying? But if you're looking at 30, 40 people, how much space does a year's worth of food? It's.
Yeah, and that area that I have that makes me feel comfortable is probably quite overkill. It's just, that's my comfort zone. So it could probably be toned way down. Bears then I don't know how many different training classes over how many calories per person, how many pounds per person. So you could probably use that as a calculation to go through that pretty rapidly and get you a pretty fair amount. And honestly, if you have that many people doing this type of thing, even if you did it with shovels, it wouldn't really take you that long to dig that much. I mean, you can dig a hell of a hole in a few hours with a shovel. Hartley knows. I watched him dig a little bit. That guy's like a machine.
Right. I disagree, Sophia. I disagree, Ghetto.
Oh, that's kind of endearing, Hut. He's like,
Right.
no, we can be close together.
Right? You can sleep in my closet.
Yeah. So if we're talking 60 people, 750 pounds of food is like 5,000 pounds of 50,000. Wait, somebody better at math do that in your head. That's a lot of food.
That's a shit ton of food.
Yeah.
You say 50 people?
Yeah,
We'll say 50 just to be on
It'd be
the
like 40,000 pounds worth of food, right?
But how much space did that take up? And then you got to remember that that's meat and produce.
Right. Yeah. I mean, a 50-pound bag of rice, 50-pound bag of beans, that's a handful. It's 6 inches tall, maybe by a couple feet wide.
Well, some of your meat should be walking around. So there should be a few pounds in walking meat.
Now you guys got Milkmaid's attention.
It's all about the calories. You got to be though. I mean, you got the food, and you got the calories, and once you start working real hard, you burn up a ton of calories, man. But
Well, see, that's the thing. Is the good thing is you don't have to account like obviously this is just a vague statement, but the Google search of hey, how much does it take to keep a person alive is bullshit. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's an average kind of. You know what I mean? Because y'all know what I'm saying.
Hmm.
But if you look, you've got the offset of the chickens that is a year-round product. You've got an offset of the rabbits that are also a year-round product. You know what I mean? That's potentially hundreds, if not thousands, of pounds of meat right there. You know, on call. Obviously cattle, but cattle's not going to be. You're not just going to, hey, I want to go kill a cow today. You know what I mean? It's, you know what I'm saying? But so the offset of storage based on actual livestock will put a giant dent in how much space a storage will actually take up. You know what I mean? Because if you've got these resources, then you don't really need to save so much. You know what I'm saying?
right. Well, yeah, because like you said, the rabbits, the chickens, everything. You're throwing out quite a bit of food right there regularly.
Yeah.
Well, the less people work, the less calories they'll need. So if you just have everyone live in squalor and do nothing, you won't need that much food.
Right. So it's basically going to be the more you work, the more you eat, but the more you work, the more you produce.
Yep. And the more you have to eat, and the more you crap. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
750 pounds of food per person is easily 750 pounds of shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And see, that's why it would be like it's already in the bylaw we went through last week, where it's established, it's not going anywhere. At least on my side, is that you need to have a minimum of 3 square foot per person of garden space, or 2 livestock animals, chickens, rabbits, et cetera, on your property, to also help offset the storage requirement needed for the community. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Anyways, to have people doing exactly that type of a thing. That way, everybody's kind of kicking in, an actual tangible thing that's right there that you can see doing well.
Right. Community has a bad year. That's pretty much a given. You're gonna have them, and that's where the reserve comes in handy. And as long as each person is taking care of their own responsibility to a certain extent that they should, if you're a shitty gardener and all your plants die, the weather kills all your plants, it doesn't mean it's going to kill everybody's. So that, you know what I'm saying, there's a little offset. You know what I'm saying? It might be fractional, but it's still there, and that's something. That's something to start with right there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
No. You could probably get away with a little bit of that, but I think there's some side effects if you have too much have a little bit too much vegan.
Right. What's going on, Monique?
Hey, Monique.
Y'all just made me go squirrel. Damn it, milkmaid.
When it comes to infrastructure, there are things that a community of people, even if it's just a couple of dozen, will require. One of them is medical, and one of them is law enforcement, and that's a whole spin. That, are you going to have a little clinic? Are you going to have a little, let's say, an urgent care clinic? And if there's something major that people go, will there be an on-site doctor where they'll, or nurses? How far are you going to be able to help someone that gets hurt, especially with all that equipment?
So the plan is, I'm trying to think how to say this to make it make sense. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be back as soon as this world stops playing.
And
here,
then,
I'll throw another little curveball for you there, Hutch. What about if it's an illness? You just have them not go to the clinic and they just stay at home and help themselves around the house, and you kind of talk through, a string and a can to each other to see if you can give pointers on, what to do for that illness, so you don't bring somebody that's ill into a clinic that could potentially make everybody in your whole group ill.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
a big clinic just for like injuries. Joe was running the chainsaw and tried to lob off his leg.
Yeah.
So let me start with this then. Does the need for a doctor's office, does that take priority in the first 10 buildings? We'll go there.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a
because
doctor's office, but like a school nurse's office. Hey, I got here's some peroxide and a Band-Aid. You know what I mean?
I think it's prudent
start
to have an on-site, at least an ARNP, but a doc if you have one, or a physician's assistant, someone that can really do the first aid or has the history, or like a Corman, Doc Mac. I do, because people get hurt, people fuck up, people
Yeah.
get sick, and how much do you want to rely on the outside world to pay for that? It's more. Yeah, I do. In the first 10 buildings, I do. Yep.
Or
Kind of funny
at
you
least
said 10. We got it at like 8 or 9, I guess. Sorry, we got it at 9 for like our list of buildings that would be built. It would
Right.
be in the general area.
boom, it is on the list then.
But I'm
So-
kind of an injury waiting to happen. That's probably why my wife put that on there.
Right.
So to clarify, it doesn't necessarily have to be a doctor's office or a building per se. It's more of a person that can act as a 24-hour EMT kind of thing.
100%.
That would be more logical.
One or two people that have the skills to do life-saving first aid, just in case there's a moment that, overall, I would say is there a serious problem, someone needs to go to the hospital, but having there that can immediately save a life that might be compromised for whatever reason.
Now, could that be maybe part of your community rules, or not rules necessarily, but guidelines that maybe you guys try to find people that are willing to do X amount of training to go into that type of stuff as well, so like they start doing more training on, with a nurse or whatever to
See that? Oh no, we lost the AJs. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
See, there could be an avenue in the community fund that could be dedicated to, say, a scholarship. Like, hey, we need a nurse, we need a lawyer. If you pretty much, I don't know, pledge to do so much, we will pay for your whole schooling or education on this subject if you pledge to spend so many years or so many hours dedicated to this area. You know what I mean? Or does that seem like it would be too much of a requirement? Or does that seem like it would actually be something that would be, hey, the community voted on it. We like you. You're going to live here forever. We want you to be a doctor. We're going to pay for you to go to school.
Right? You just tie them down in the corner for when you need help. I think that your best bet is to have people with multiple skills. So someone who can do that first aid, someone who can sew, like Monique says. You're going to need good cooks, good people for building, gardening. So to me, it's more about bartering and teaching skills than charging or scholarshiping or whatever. I would say it's more of like an internship type of thing, where if there's someone with a proclivity for it, that they pick up the training side if someone else is also interested, and to build that. And you never know, someone like the milkmaid might go to every workshop except for glass blowing and learn how to do whatever it is that people do in the community,
But she's got all that hot air though. Glass blowing seems like a perfect job. See, that's the thing. Like it leaves open the potential. Like this idea leaves open the potential for artisans, kind of a thing. Like if you get into it where you're trying to make money for the community, then if you do have those artisans who can do those random different skills, so crafts, blah blah blah, then you that's going to have to be an option later on down the road anyway, to bring in the money for the community. One of those kind of things. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. So are you going to have like that type of thing where the community is actually pulling together to try to make money there, to try to be 100% self-sufficient as the long-term goal? So you have, literally like blacksmith, or, somebody that stitches up clothes and, stuff like that, to where you have just like a 100% self-sustained community.
Yeah, that would be the goal. The end goal would be to eventually anything that is in that property takes care of everything on that property. You know,
Mhm.
Okay. So yeah.
yeah, to make your own clothes, you have your own markets, you have your own conventions, you have your own stores, et cetera, et cetera. You know, like literally this will be your own private city. You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah.
end goal.
So you
And
start
that'll
with these
all have
little.
to go on trade. That'll all be barter if you think about it.
And see, that's where the different chapters or different communities come in, is because say we're like me and AJ, we're in the Midwest, you know, because we're normal people. We'd have a chapter here, and the weird people who are on the coasts would have a chapter. So
Yeah.
you got, you know, different growing seasons, different crops, different livestock, blah blah blah. If this community here is focused on this, this, and this, that leaves the door open for this community, this chapter over here to do this, this, and this. Like, okay, well, we don't have this because of our growing season, because of our zones. So we will trade this with you people here. And you know what I'm saying? And it pretty much leaves a closed barter system throughout communities based on where you're located. One of those kind of things. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? Pretty much.
Speak Spanish, main
A lot of
religious
depending on a lot
aspects.
of other people.
Yeah, you're gonna have a need for recreation. I agree with Ghost and Roaming, a rec center, a play yard, as it were, and honestly, there's things to be addressed with other types of adult recreation, which kind of ties into the law thing. You know, there's 2 or 3% of people are not right in the head, generally speaking. So with, let's say, 50, you're going to have 1 or 2 that might end up being pretty toxic, especially if they don't have outlets.
At least.
Yeah, that's something to go blow off some steam or whatever.
Mhm. A
So
tavern.
the way I've got, like, if I'm living in this, we're smoking. We're smoking, plain and simple. If you live in a community, you'll be smoking. There's no way around it. But I pretty much got it. The concept that I'm trying to lean toward is the 2 acres for the community. There will be like a park. So you can, like, hey, get the hell out of your house, kick your chillins out, go play on the park. You know, actual swings, jungle gyms, you know, the whole 9 yards laid out for the chillins.
Mhm.
Yeah, you've got to have that debauchery 21 and over crowd room. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah. And maybe some actual training facilities anyways, if you know, look at it like right now times are good, everything's good, all that, but it actually like some training facilities so the playground could double up as, you know, that type of a thing. You know, the kids are there, you know, X hours, and then the adults are there, you know, either early morning, late in the evening, you know, doing some training exercises together to be able to work as a team and to be able to, you know, blow off some extra steam, but also to just, you know, keep physically fit. So if stuff isn't good, I mean, even if it is good, but
You still
it's
need that practice. Yeah.
doing self-sustainable stuff, you're working harder. You know, like Hutch, you work harder than I do every day because you're self-sustaining at your homestead. I got an office job now. I love it. I work hard when I come home, but you know, that's where, you know, people that don't do that type of stuff, they're going to have to be in shape to do the hard things. So, you know, that may be a good concept, is to have that playground area that's also an exercise area, and that people get together and kind of train together.
I ain't gonna lie. The image that popped into my mind when I was thinking about that is full blown prison yard weight room.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yep. No sagging, y'all. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Keep your hands out your pants.
It's called a barn.
Yeah, see, Joe's been getting a hold of me. Bug Out's been sending me some good stuff, and it's like I've considered the militant aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like, would obviously a shooting range would definitely come in handy for long guns and pistols, and an obstacle course. If I don't know if that's the right word for it, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't. It's one of those things where obviously you need the protection, especially if you get into a shift situation. You've got different communities. Okay, we've got this army that can mobilize and come put you guys out in this situation. Something like that.
Yep.
I just don't know how much area really needs to be taken into consideration for that. So say you figure at most, of course, everybody in the community has to have some kind of, what I'm saying, at least know how to aim down some iron sights, something along those lines. But for the people who are more committed, is it more of a 1 acre space or is it more of a 5 acre space to actually set something up, to leave wild, to build an obstacle course on? You know what I mean? That's dedicated for just this purpose. Is that an option that should be put into consideration, like a training ground kind of sort of?
I would say yes. Like,
Yep.
what is ours? Probably 4 or 5 acres that we got down there. The shooting range and everything, probably close to 4 or 5 acres.
Maybe.
So like ours is probably close to 4 or 5 acres that we got for, because it's just like one section of our pasture that we kind of cut off. Our farmstead's on 3 acres, but this is our pasture that's down the road from us, and that's probably 4 or 5 acres that ours is on. And it seems pretty fair, but it could be a little bigger to depending on what type of training you're doing.
Right.
Well, I think an adult playground is totally appropriate. I know there could be some families and what have you, but I think you're looking at mostly adults with older kids. Some young ones might come about, but enough space to reasonably do target practice with many different things, including arrows, both, and, I don't want to over talk about pew-pews and stuff, but, just where people can learn and do it. And like you say, everyone needs to have certain protection skills, hunting skills,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, the other side of the L. And hi, everyone in chat. I see you in there saying hi. I closed off my YouTube side to make sure I have a good signal, and so I'm not typing in there. But hello, everyone. Ooh, a throwing star range. That's a good idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these things need. I mean, it sounds goofy, but all these things need to be. You know what I'm saying?
That would probably
play a part.
probably be like number 20 on my list of what you need to get done.
Right.
What, a throwing star range?
20.
Yeah, I agree with AJ.
So, an obstacle course detail thingy, that's not important enough for the top 10.
I would say no. You're going to be working your ass off.
The great outdoors is obstacle course all around. Climb a tree.
Yeah.
I don't run. Do things. It's outside. It's limitless.
Right.
Some people are going to be dedicated to that military mindset. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have some guaranteed soldiers that need to stay tuned up on shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is
Well,
very
quite
true.
frankly, I know we talked about the houses on the perimeter, and actually I like that on the L shape along the road, but the other side along that forest would be a really good spot to do some adult kind of fun learning and obstacling, because that there was a greater part of nature over there, more forest and more maybe more places to target practice and a longer stretch to try and shoot, so to speak. And you wouldn't want something like that in the middle, but maybe along one of the edges so that boys can be boys. And also, yeah, militant, because security is serious business. If you had your obstacles like that around the outside, that could actually help, because all of your like-minded folks, they're going to be out there playing, doing their thing, and they'll know that parameter. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and you could double down with just that, with some of the things you're using as obstacles or hunting things, blinds, things like that, which is some things I tried to incorporate as blinds or stands, which end up being towers. It gives you, something to hunt out of. It gives you something to climb, and it also give you a long distance visual, so you could double down on all that type of stuff.
Yep, double down. It'd be dual purpose. It'd be not only watching your perimeter, but practicing on it.
Yeah, and you need to practice. I mean, you are going to work your ass off, but you need to practice still, I believe, in the areas that you're going to be living in. You need to be familiar with it in the dark. You need to be able to navigate it in the dark. And you need to be able to, adjust to all that terrain and be able to do it in an aggressive manner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, I agree.
so, my bad.
No, you're good. I was just agreeing. Yeah, it's a great idea.
Along with what Monique's saying there, do you
Mhm.
believe that I don't want to say a rec room, but it wouldn't be a tack room, but it'd be kind of like a universal room for people doing sewing and
Mhm.
things like that? Because I mean, if we're looking at, honestly, like, I guess I put my bar, I didn't put that on the list. So if you're gonna have a debauchery hangout area,
Mhm.
we've got a lot of seasoned people that would, they don't want to go hang out and be around the obnoxious people that are drinking. They'd rather go sew a quilt or do some knitting and hang out with book club. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I guess it comes down to, would the bar be a multi-function area that, okay, up until 8 o'clock at night, it's a canasta convention for the geriatrics. As soon as it hits 9:01, you know what I'm saying, it's drunk time. You know what I mean?
You know what I think about is if you had, for example, a shop. Because if we've got 6, 7, 8 families living on the perimeter and you're doing all your own work to build this, you're going to need a freaking shop.
Yeah,
You're going to need tools. You're going to need electric tools. You're going to need saws and whatever, right? So if you had a shop where during the day people can do their sawing and cutting and some of the handwork they need to do, and that would cover where the skilled people are during the day, and but have it partitioned off so it's just one building, and at some point work day is over, you cover it all up, and that can become your tavern, pool table, or roll out ping pong, or but a shop where there's active skills going on, and that will end up being the chill spot, because when people are done working, they're going to crack a beer and sit right where they are.
Right.
That's actually pretty
By that point, it'll be 4:22, and they'll be like, "Word, I'm done with this project for the day," and that's it.
I want to barn my shop. Just throwing that out there. Sounds like a great
The
idea.
ultimate man cave. Come on, shop with a bar.
If I could smoke, I'd rather have a smoke shop in my shop, but I'm in Kansas and my job doesn't allow it. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to have a bar in my shop.
Right?
I think that's actually a good idea.
And everyone will just pick up and clean up and
But yeah, you clean
Call
up at
it
the
a
end of the
day.
day.
whenever they feel like having.
You'd have to have a
It
cut.
doesn't
You'd have
work
to have the
that
cut
way.
off. You'd have to,
Yeah.
Ghost, I ain't gonna lie. I've considered that. I've got it on my 10,000 pages of random shit, but I've actually got a bamboo forest or something of that nature, because not only is it defense, it also works for construction. You know what I mean?
Highly invasive. So you
I love the idea of bamboo perimeter. It does grow fast. It'll grow 18 inches in a day with the right weather.
Yeah.
And it's, very resilient.
Yep. Yeah.
I know, right? Jeep, whiskey, and power tools. Well, I mean, with more responsibility than that, you can drink whiskey at your little house and come back to the power tools either way, So that'll have to be self-control.
Or you could just move the power off to the shop. like as soon as the first beer cracks, the power to the shop's got to be off. One of those kind of
Right.
situations.
You
Yeah.
hit the breaker. Boom.
Have a
I already
cutoff of this is the work day, this is playtime. You know, have that distinct cutoff for the people that don't have that cutoff in them.
Yeah. Because I already know there's some people in this chat who are going to be falling down all the time. I'm like, look what I can do with this Sawzall.
You can't do that. Hold my beer and watch.
Right.
Yeah, there's pitfalls to that idea, but combining some of the community areas, it could be a little offshoot on the side, because if you have a little speakeasy, then you're going to have to, realistically, what's going to happen? People are going to get the munchies. So then you're looking at, well, someone's got to be flipping burgers, and that would naturally happen day one. After about 2 hours, people are going to start looking around like, what do we got to eat around here? So, you know, it could just be a part of the town square. It might not be a good idea to put the shop and that together, but if there's a little speakeasy, you're going to need cooks, straight up. That is a 1 + 1 = 4 situation, is food in when it's chill time, you know, which brings another thing of rationing. Is it rationed or not? Do you guys trade stuff so that you have enough money for Costco to get the 25-pack of 80/20 burgers? You know.
See, that's where it would come down to the storage and or root cellar is once you start making the profit. Because see, like I've got it split up to where the crops and the livestock, if you take them to auction, and of course the crafts, a certain percentage goes toward stocking that community reserve. Just for that reason, like obviously, eventually there's going to have to be a community kitchen. That might have to be one of the first things, because I've got it set up to where whenever we do the town hall meetings, to where the council has to be held accountable and answer all that good shit, it's basically like a once a week or a twice a month community dinner. So there would have to be cooks anyway. But then that comes down to the point, okay, the people who are working in the fields, like if you're a full-time resident, you're homeschooling your kids, you're not doing anything outside the property, you're 100% on property, you're going to need, like, are you going to need a designated at least one cook? Like, okay, at 12 o'clock, we've got lunch for 50 people. At 6 o'clock, we've got breakfast for 6. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Is it going to be so, is it going to be so dialed in that every meal could be a community meal? Or is it going to be to where just a certain few times a month there's a community meal? Because the kitchen could be there always, and then that could double as the bar and all that. You know what I'm saying? It could all work together. It's just how important is it to have it all the time?
I think it's important to have a mess hall. That's where people unwind. You have your lunch break. You're rebuilding. An army marches on its stomach. And if you're talking about people doing all this work self-sustained, no, they don't want to run home. I think everyone should have their own kitchen if they want one, but no, you don't have to run home and do that. I think you're going to need a handful of food service workers. That'll be cooks. The most important person in a kitchen is the dishwasher, the people that clean it up. So yeah, those skills will be imperative. And the thing about doing all this self-sustenance is they're going to burn out. So we need that spot to get together. Hey, how was your day? If you don't build one, the people will build one and end up going somewhere anyway to talk about what they've been doing, share a beer and a sandwich, and what have you. Look at all of us. We aren't even in the same neighborhood, and we see each other almost every day. So I think it's unavoidable that centers of socializing are going to be really important for mental health. And also they can be utilitarian, where you get your lunch and, hey, everyone, dinner's on you, you know?
See, that's the thing, Monique, is that one of the higher positions would be in charge of keeping track of everything. Like in your position in this council member, your job is to make sure that this shit is here. At any given time, you should be able to know what's in here, what we need. That's already going to be, that's a done deal. You know what I'm saying?
Every department you have will have to have a manager to do inventory, whether it's food or first aid supplies or dry goods, or, you know what I mean? Every single department of human functioning will have to have someone in charge of it, with the clipboard, making sure that you don't run out of XYZ.
Yeah, I think, like me personally, I think you would cook and eat with your family basically the entire week. Maybe if you decided to do lunch or whatever, maybe once or twice a week. But then at the end of the week, you would do like a supper to rewind, well, not rewind, but unwind. Sorry, and eat with other folks or whatever, and drink a beer or whatever, and then talk about the next process of what's coming up the next week. Because any of the people that are raising livestock, or that their jobs to raise livestock, their job to do the animals, the garden, whatever there is, that particular thing, those people don't get that day off. So like my wife, she runs 7 days a week, unless I am like, hey, why don't you let me do the chores and this and that on the weekends, because she has her animals that she has to take care of, irregardless, sick, no matter what. So at the end of the week, you'd have that discussion, and then maybe be able to have people step in and go, okay, yeah, we're gonna I'll do this weekend for Joe so he can have the weekend off or whatever. So maybe have the meal toward the end of the week would be like a thing I would think of, just on my end of it. And that way you can have your meals throughout the week with your family.
Mhm.
Bug out. That's we're in the beginning stages. That's what we're gonna figure out next time. Right now we're just trying to figure out what we need, and then the next time we'll try to figure out how the hell we're gonna make it happen.
Well, there's something to be said for selling clones.
Mhm.
You don't have to take it to the full product, and it's pretty easy to get something to 8-10 inches and send it off on its way. Very fast, very it's a quick work. But no, I'm serious, because each one of those will go $30 ish. I mean, it's a valid way to build up for some of the things that you're not going to be able to make yourself, like napkins or sanitary napkins for women, or some of a lot in the toiletry world, actually, toothpaste, and we all want everyone to have soap, things like that. We can make soap, but that's another animal to milk,
Yeah, Mary Jane's. I mean, it's you got to think of every single option, and that's pretty much what it is. Because when we start this thing, you know what I'm saying? It's you still have access to the outside world. You can still have a job. You can still send your children to school. So you've got that outside money. You know what I mean? So it's not going to be that much of a shock to get it started. I mean, it's going to be rough, but it's not going to be as serious as everybody thinks, because people can still go out and work and bring money in, and et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? So it offsets it a little bit. I don't know how much. It might not be a noticeable difference, but it's, you know what I mean? It's there. And the more you can focus on making the profit to sell to other people, the less you kind of have to worry about, oh, this crop didn't come in, blah, 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 because we've got all these different avenues to make money outside of the property to help fill the reserves, to catch up the slack. You know what I mean?
Right.
So all that is going to have to come into play. Crafts and bartering and the black market system and all that is going to have to come into play. Not necessarily immediately, but it's going to have to come into play as soon as everything's, I don't want to say established. You know what I'm saying? It's got to happen quick, but it doesn't have to be right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be over several years that you're building this, and depending on how it goes. You could start out the concept with going several years, and then if something bad happens, then you go to plan B, C, whatever one you're on. But your first plan could be to just slowly move into all this and slowly keep working out the kinks of it. I mean, this is a kind of a new concept for everybody.
Right.
Good concept.
Because see, there's so many different avenues that we need to fine tune. Like I've seen it a couple times in the chat already. How do you dispose of the trash? And all these different things. So it just comes down to a trash dump would obviously be a stupid fucking idea. You can burn some things to a certain extent, but you're going to have that build up. So you got to figure out something to do with that. So it comes down to, okay, do we limit what's allowed to be brought onto the property? That way you can do a, lack of a better term, a forced recycling program. You know what I mean? Okay, we've got cans, we got canned food, we've got glass jars, and we've got shit that can be burnt, you know, or paper or cardboard. So does it come into play? Okay, everybody needs to separate their trash. Canned goods go in the recycling. Anything metal can be recycled. There's no point in taking up space when we can get, you know, so much money off of so many cans. Everybody get together, canned food, that shit adds up. And you've got a recycling bin that you can take to the scrap yard at the end of the year, monthly, quarterly, however it works, to add that little bit of extra income so you're making money off your trash. Same thing will go with cardboard. You can recycle cardboard, or you can use the cardboard in the compost pile. So that gets rid of that. Then you got your stuff like glass. So you can recycle glass, but there's really no money in it because you need a shit ton to actually make a difference. But what could you use the glass for other than, you know, breaking it up and throwing it away? You know what I mean?
You can build with it, some things.
So it's like to the point to where, okay, this is outlawed because we can only do this with it. And you know what I mean? So it's like, it comes down to you're not allowed to have a spaghetti jar bottle because it's glass. If you throw it away, you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you can reuse some glass, but I think the thing is, if there's every restriction that gets put up has to be enforced somehow. So is there going to be the hall monitor police that walks around and like, oh, I caught you with that ragu? You know, how would that really be enforced?
See, that's what I'm saying. It would be too much to enforce it like that. But at a certain point, the person has to get the trash off of their lot. I mean, so it's not that we're going to be like coming in and like, oh, you son of a bitch, you got that Prego, you're out. You know what I mean? It's, hey, we've been picking up your trash for like 3 weeks now, and every time you got some glass or some shit in here that's not supposed to go in there. You know what I mean? It would be more along those lines. You know what I mean?
And like reading through some of the notes you sent me, the way you do your selecting process, that should limit, hopefully it would limit a lot of the people, or kick out a lot of people that would be not wanting to run the same trail as you. So you're trying to do XYZ and trying to be as conservative as possible with the way you're selecting people throughout that selection process. You should be able to limit it down and narrow it down to people that are hopefully going to be making your job easier, not to have to monitor it so hard, because they're going to be on the same page of trying to get self-sustainable and, you know, stuff like that in theory.
See, that's that's my thing, is a lot of you people chat are dicks and you throw me off. We got a lot of negative Nancy's. You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, well, what about this? What about this? Well, if you're not in the mindset, you're not going to be in this community in the first place. So that, you know what I'm saying, that whole concept, like you just said, that pretty much wipes that off the table. You know what I mean? So it'll be a lot easier than it seems, just because everybody involved would have to be on the same mindset, plain and simple, from the beginning. I mean, you know what you're buying into, so you know what's expected of you. So, you know what I'm saying? It won't be too much of a hassle, I think. But, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh,
it definitely takes
we can also make a bunch of Molotovs.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. But see, that's perfect. If you could figure out a way to incorporate your trash, even if you save some of these things as building materials, and some, like, what the damn it, Monique. Oh, no, you're not. You want me to go squirrel? You'll get over it. If you could use your trash as building material, say the glass, say you got somebody who wants to build an Earthship type home or a greenhouse type home, then you could use the 2-liter bottles and the glass bottles as inserts, as filler, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's something you can do with it. You know what I mean? It's just fine tuning it down to, okay, well, we can use this. Now, what about the rest of the trash that the only option is to burn or bury? You know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed. Plastics is the big thing. Glass has a million uses. Cardboard can be broken down, burned if you have to. put in the compost. But plastic, that shit never goes away.
Yeah, that and foam. That's two big killers there.
Yeah. Because
Yeah, see,
thinking about infrastructure, the trash buildup between human waste, body waste, waste from the processing of all the agriculture and all that. I mean, we're talking shit. Might need I would
there
say
you
a
go.
community compost pile where, or like an organized one in the garden for one thing. And then when people do, or if the little place that serves lunch now and again, or the people in their little homes, everyone goes there with their bucket and puts it in, and everyone's responsible for turning it every now and again.
Right.
I like that idea about molding the plastics. I
Yeah.
never really considered that. That's interesting.
I was watching something the other day. I want to say it was in Africa, but it might have been. It's one of those countries over there in that
Third
circle.
world
somewhere.
country.
Yeah, and the kid was taking plastic out of the trash, and that's exactly what he was doing, was melting it down and making plastic bricks.
Yeah, it's
So-
amazing how many third world countries come up with all these innovative ideas of doing this, that, and the other, and we're supposedly one of the most advanced countries in the world, and we can't make any of that stuff function over here. It always amazes me.
Hmm. I saw a dude take a plastic, I believe it was a regular sized 20-ounce water bottle, and he cut it very carefully and ended up with like 100 feet of cordage.
Oh yeah, I seen that one where he had the
Right?
spiral deal,
Yeah, the spiral
Yeah.
around the. Yep,
kind of like an apple peeler on a 2-liter.
yep.
Wow. I need to get off my normal channels and start watching other things, and then rather than just always plugging away at the same thing.
You want full disclosure? The stuff that I learn the most from about actually implementing on the homestead and doing things like that don't come from prepper channels. Don't come from homesteader channels.
Right.
Interesting.
Science.
Yeah, I have a pretty limited span of stuff. I sat down, start working, I kick on stuff to listen to, and just kind of roll from there. So it's
Mhm.
easy to just go to the people I know and just kind of listen.
Right, Heartland? That's the word I was trying to spit out. A landfill. Yeah. Be hard to do, but I don't know if it's legal to do your own.
At a certain point, fuck legality. I mean, realistically,
Yeah, I hear you.
that seems like a whole lot of work.
Right.
Little landfill. Yeah, I'm sure it's legal if you pay them.
Right.
I mean, it's about like anything. If you pay them, they not let you do anything.
Ain't got no body, ain't got no crime. See, yeah, that's
And so, do them little chintzy water bottles that you barely touch them and they collapse? Do they work for that type of thing, or is that like a heavier type of plastic?
I'd reckon the heavier the better, but it'll still work. You can still make line or cordage, But I would say the heavier the better. But it was pretty thin, man. He got an enormous amount of line or cordage from one bottle.
Huh. Okay.
see, that's what I'm worried about on the landfill.
Yeah, tactical. That's true.
Yeah, because you got to really, really watch, especially if you start getting a lot of families or animals. You really got to watch how you plot everything out to make sure the land keeps revitalizing itself, so it stays sustainable and keeps coming back good. Because even just putting, an animal in one area for too long and not moving them, they could destroy the land. So imagine what we do, because we're 10 times more harmful. So that's going to be a very interesting thing to see how long you can make your land sustainable for with X amount of people on there trying to do like sections, I guess, to keep it moving good.
True. Eventually, though, it'll catch up to you.
Yeah.
See, that's like I think Star just said, don't allow plastic. If you go that route, then you will literally bring nothing onto the property. Everything in the fucking world is touched by plastic now. You have no choice. You know.
Well, Monique, that's a really good point. Look at third world countries and how they deal with trash. And granted, a lot of them still have piles of trash everywhere. And like Tennessee is saying, rodents, disease, tainted water, it's pretty bad. Trash is one of the first things in the infrastructure that will ruin your life. Dirty water and trash.
Yeah, because even if you're burning everything, you still have some kind of leftovers. I mean, you can't really burn it to nothing, I don't think. I've got burn cans, and you can't.
Right. See, that's the problem I'm having is that 5 years of burning trash, like we've never sent our trash out. Every bit of trash we got has been burnt, along with the tops of the trees that we've done throughout the years, and that is literally what I'm using as filler for my stages. It doesn't seem like much. I'll do a video tomorrow to show you guys how much is added up. But I've got the bar stage behind the shower house, and I've got the produce stage over in the field. And the concept behind both of these is that the field stage is going to be elevated at least 3 foot. And that's nothing but fill and ash and everything that's been burnt over the last 5 years. And I'm already at a 6 foot tall hill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The stage behind the shower house, that's going to be at least a foot tall. My highest point out there, I'm already getting 3 foot tall on some of the, you know what I'm saying? So burning it adds up quick, just with 3 of us. So imagine 10 people over 5 years, how big these ash piles would be. Obviously, if it's just ash, it can go into the compost pile or, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But when you start getting trash involved, there's really nothing you can do with the ash. It's going to poison your crops. It's going to do all this other shit. So burning it is obviously a logical choice, but then you've got the trash from the trash that you've got to clean up. Sending it out, it works in today's world, but when the world's on fire, sending it out is not an option. You know what I mean?
You're done. Yeah.
There's a few options with ash, though. Bug Out says paved dirt roads. With wood ash, you can put that in your garden.
So we put a lot of ours in our driveway, but you still got to put rock over it eventually. But yeah, we do put a lot of ours throughout our driveway, and it does actually bond pretty decent to, like, say, AB3 rock. And once it starts breaking down, AB3 is just basically limestone that's, you know, anywhere from 1 inch to 3 inches, as far as I know, anyways. And so once it starts breaking down, it kind of powders up, and then once rain hits it, it kind of hardens again. So anything you have in there, like wood chunks or plastics or anything that's melted down a little bit, that stuff really bonds to it really good, and it helps make a really good road, actually. So that he's got a very valid point there.
Mm-hmm.
So see, boom. I guess that would definitely be an option for getting rid of trash.
Yeah, keep building roads and, you know, driveways or whatever.
Because see, if it's obviously the majority of people are going to need wood burning stoves, just because obviously. So the ash that you're going to have from each person's stove should be more than enough that's going to take care of your garden for the year to come. So you're going to have extremely a lot of overflow. And then at the end of the day, you got to think of where are all these trees coming from that they've got to burn in the first place to get that clean ash. So but that's, you know, that's another subject. But I mean, it's just the trash ash itself. You know what I mean? The road seems like the most logical choice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and just drives from different areas to different areas, because I mean, you may have your main driveway into your house, but then you're going to have, you know, a little road that, a drive area that runs back to your barn or over to this building or whatever. Then even once they're built up, you know, the weather and just driving on them beats them down and creates low spots. So just filling them in.
That's true.
Yeah.
For filler. Yeah.
Now I
Very-
try to keep it as far away from your garden as possible.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, see, that's the thing. I'm going to pop the picture back up here. I know I keep moving my mouse around here. Like, look at this area right here. Like, y'all can see my clicker and shit. Sorry, y'all. I'm just trying to get an image again and see what we got going on here. See there, yeah, there would be. You could do it to where you could have the. If you separate it to where you've got the non-essential shit, the building resources side. So say you split that property into three. You guys just seen the picture. Split that into three. This side is the crops and the livestock. In the middle is the community. And then on the other side is the resources storage. You know, your lumber, your glass pile. Like, hey, somebody needs building material. Okay, it's over here on this side. One of those kind of things. So it happened. It wouldn't be that difficult to just put it completely on the other side of the property and like that. So that's not an issue at all.
Yeah, I follow you there. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I would
Take it
Tetris it.
Something simple, my bad. No, I don't have on that one. Doc Mac, this picture here, from the picture itself, this is pretty much flat. There's no elevation of any kind on this. It's 100% flat all the way around. Obviously you can see from the landscape around it. You're in a valley. You know what I'm saying? It's almost the perfect working surface. And it gives you all those trees as resources, as money to make, as a couple years worth of firewood. You know what I mean? But that's all it is just a couple years.
Yeah, it doesn't take long, especially with a wife like mine, to burn through a lot of firewood. Getting you cold.
Always cold.
I just take all the blankets and curl up like a burrito, and I'm good.
Pretty much. See, I was leaning toward that because, you know, they sell the recycled 2x4s and shit now that they make park benches and all that other shit out of. But how cost effective would it be to actually get the mold or whatever it is that you would need to do something like that? You know what I mean? I haven't looked into any, because I know the boards are expensive as shit for a single board.
Yeah,
So,
how do you know if it's strong enough to do anything? I mean, you know, like, what's the mixture to make sure that plastic board's strong?
right. Yeah, because you got to think too. I mean, it sounds good in theory, but you might have to spend thousands of dollars just to test that theory just to see what you can and cannot build.
Right.
So you could fuck around and buy a $5,000 machine just to find out that, oh, we can't do nothing but Art Deco shit. You know what I mean? Because it's got no structural quality at all.
Because do you want a plastic 2x4 on 16-inch centers on a pretty low slope, holding all the 2 foot of snow off of crumbling down on you? I don't really want that.
Didn't mean to cut your face off.
That's all right. I don't need it.
Started just writing a book over here. Yeah, I get that. But see, yeah, it comes down to it, though. The only time you would really need to worry about that trash service is during these times now. If the world ends, you're not going to be going to the store to get plastic anyway. So it's not a long-term concern. I mean, if you think the world's going to end in 2 days, it's not a long-term concern. You know what I'm saying? So it's there's a lot of nuance involved in trying to figure that out. I don't know.
Yeah,
there's
there is.
a lot of directions you can take that. Hey, if I
think,
ghetto, just go ahead.
oh, waste not, want not. you know, with that much wood, that's a lot of resources. It's a lot to be able to build with, to construct different things that you need around the site. A planer wouldn't be a bad idea, or knowing someone with one and just get it done. Because clearing that, man, that's a lot of heat, and also thinking about what you're going to leave. It's almost not as important what you take away as what you leave for
Exactly.
cover and the future, you know.
What kind of trees are even in that area?
Well, in this area, it's mainly oak. I'm going to say oak is probably going to be 80% of your trees. Then we've got the hickory. We've got just small offshoot softwoods and things like that. But then, like I say, it's I'm going to say 80% oak and probably 15% spruce or evergreen.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
You guys got some nice trees around there, then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like Missouri's the shit. I'm just saying. Anybody who doesn't live in Missouri, there's something wrong with y'all.
Yeah, we've got a handful of oaks here and there. We got a lot of hedge trees and a lot of locust trees. So if you like getting stabbed with thorns constantly,
hey, do me a favor. I talked about this. I'm going squirrel. I'm sorry, y'all. Take a pic. You get hedge balls and shit out there.
Oh yeah.
Take a picture of that whenever they pop again and put up a community post, because I was trying to explain this to people for the last damn year. I was like, is this just a Missouri thing? But those hedge trees, the hedge balls themselves are great pest deterrents. But the hedge tree, that wood is so hard, that's fence post right here for years.
Early.
It's a very hard wood, man. That stuff gets like petrified when you leave it out for very long.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about it is like most of my pajamas and stuff have holes in them because it pops a lot. So when you open the fire door, you just get covered in it. But it is a very hard wood. Makes good canes. Makes good all kinds of stuff, man. My mailbox was a giant one for years. The mailbox post, I guess, because like I said, it just gets like petrified. And then like the hedge balls. When we were kids, that was fun. You know, you throw them at each other, play shitty games with them.
Smell like a motherfucker. Stinks so damn bad. My grandpa used to use those. He'd cut them in half and throw them under the house to keep snakes out. Snakes and spiders. It's like a redneck version of mothballs, pretty much.
Yeah, a lot safer.
Yeah,
a lot safer than mothballs. Yeah, I'll make sure and try to get a picture of that. I never really even thought about that. That some people may not know what hedge balls really look like, but maybe I'll get a good picture of locust trees if nobody knows what that looks like, because if anybody's been ever poked with a locust, you get poked with those. Man, they hurt like hell. And they got just like a little bit of poison on the end of them. And yeah, they're a large thorn.
Yeah, large venomous thorn.
Wow.
And the trees get covered in them.
I was running chasing my kids one day, and I'm a couple 100 pounds, and I had one go up to the bottom of my foot, and had to have my wife pull it out, ripped off like a Band-Aid, and it was extremely painful.
But then it hurts for a long time after because of the poison.
Yeah.
Sorry, way off subject on that, man. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. I just went squirrel as soon as you said it. I was like, damn it, somebody's going to validate me, damn it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good uses for hedge apples, actually.
And hedge trees.
See, that's like another concern would be like on that property. Obviously, it's 100% wooded, so that gives you a certain amount of time. I'd say 5 years max worth of firewood. But then it comes down to how big of an area do you need designated specifically for regrowth and reforestation, however the fuck you say that word.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I'd try to keep that abundant as possible. Try to rob out of ditches or anything you can for as long as you can. That way you can keep your tree pile growing and growing. Because like oak and stuff like that, I'm assuming just from what I've seen with oak, those are a slow growing tree. So you're not going to get much firewood out of them for a long time.
Yeah. So an arborism is going to have to be a focus for at least a couple people.
Mhm.
Otherwise, everybody's going to freeze to death and you're all going to die.
Yeah. Yep. And I would
No,
focus
that's
on
true.
decent hardwoods. I don't know about oak. That'd be your ball game there.
Oak is pretty much a universal. You've got white oak, you got black oak here. One stringy, one solid, but they both burn perfectly. They're both perfect for a sawmill type situation, to where if you need to make lumber. But they've got a decent growth rate. But it's probably going to take at least 10 years to get an oak tree big enough to use as firewood.
Oh,
Mhm.
shit.
So
Yeah,
it's,
you guys
it's that thing. You know what I mean?
y'all
Mhm.
need to start growing some elm trees and cottonwood then, because elm trees grow like wildfire around here.
You
And
can't get rid of them. So
yeah, you can't hardly get rid of them. They don't burn that great. I mean, they burn obviously, but they're a pain in the ass to split. And they kind of smell a little bit like cottonwood smells bad, but elm doesn't smell quite as bad. But it's a real gnarly, like it's just instead of like oak and hedge and everything kind of grows real straight like this, and elm's just really intertwined. It's just like a mess.
Yeah. Does it really matter? 101. Does it really matter?
Shout out 101.
Well, shit, you could burn that at the end too. The stalks, if you let it just keep growing.
Yeah. Because see, that's like I was debating. Like there should be some sort of, at least to a certain extent, a community wood pile.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then that's one of those things to where it's, how do you limit how much wood per person each? You know what I'm saying? Like, does your neighbor have to suffer because you don't know how to use a damn damper on your stove? You know what I mean?
Right. Or you didn't insulate your house well, or you married, the coldest person in the world.
Right. So that will come down to, like, that's pretty much the same as the water situation. Like, we've got a limited supply, but the wood would be worse than the water, because we've only got a limited amount of wood, and we literally have to wait 3 years before we can do it again. So does the wood get delivered once a week? Like, here's a week's worth of wood for your house, make it work, or, you know what I'm saying, deal with it. One of those kind of things.
That's a resource you would have to ration, in my opinion. You'd have to have some equation for rationing on that.
Well, I wonder if you could take like your paper products or cardboard products and try to, roll them up to make like little shitty logs and have them set aside.
Compensate.
And then maybe oil drips on stoves. I don't know if those are safe in a house or not, but
it's a good idea.
Recycle vegetable oil, motor oil, whatever, and then put like oil drip into your heater so you can try to maximize everything you can at that point once you get to there. Maybe not.
No, I agree. You can make your own Duralogs, or what are they called? Duraflame. You can make your own. It's basically a bunch of paper products with some accelerant, and we need the safe recipe for it, but you can make them.
So how feasible would that be? Like, would something like that, just a mixture of pretty much sawdust and cardboard put together with some kind of adhesive, burnable adhesive, would that be enough to compensate for a lack of firewood? You know what I mean?
Boy, that'd be tough.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
We burn a lot of firewood.
Right. It depends on how cold your wife is. I'm sitting in a room that's 40 degrees right now with no heat in it, so I wouldn't go through that much. But
see, she's sitting here in a hoodie, sweats, house shoes, a stocking cap, and I got a t-shirt on, and I'm wearing pants because I'm on a video.
Right.
Otherwise, yeah, she likes it 100 degrees in here. But yeah, that's all in it, and a lot of it can be done with insulation. And science experiments. Oh, it's good now. Why don't we try to put together some stuff and see what it does to kind of compensate in our wood burners? And you could track your creosote buildup also, because if you're making something like that, is it going to produce more creosote in your chimney? I don't know, man.
Yeah, and then that raises your flame dangerous. And your house is on fire.
Yep, that creosote's not a good thing to play with.
Yeah, if you're looking at fire heat as opposed to some kind of gas, there's certain woods that also create more creosote. I believe pine is one.
Oh, yeah.
Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's something to think about with your sustainability with using wood and trying to replace it is what grows there and what is realistic. Pine grows fast, but it's not very strong. You can build with it, but it's not incredibly hard, and it does create all of that creosote. It might be better to have a tree that takes a little longer but works better and is safer, quality over quantity.
Right. Yeah, pine's just a dangerous wood in general, man. That shit burns fast and horribly hot. You gotta be careful. You want to put small chunks in your fireplace or your wood burner. I know that from experience.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I didn't burn the house down, but
But
I
that's
love
the
it,
thing is, Wizard, you're not going to be there to have it consistent because you're going to have to get, even if it's 2 degrees outside in this situation, you still got to get out there and do your job. So there's going to be instances where a lot of people, their house is cold for at least 5-6 hours a day, and then they got to heat it back up and do all that thing again. So the cleaning process is unavoidable.
yeah. Well, and the moisture in your wood, if everybody doesn't have a good wood shed or the wood hasn't had time to lay, all that goes into creosote buildup. Yeah.
Mhm.
See, I was looking into the methane digester or whatever. It's like you can obviously there's ways that you can do it with if you hot compost, you can do that. You know what I'm saying? There's ways to do it, but there has to be that fallback to where everybody's secure. You know what I mean? Like that would work in the community building, but then if you get too cold, then you got to come to the community building. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's you know what I
And
mean?
you're gonna have 40 motherfuckers in the community building.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna be piled on top of each other.
Yeah, that's where the bar is, the restaurant.
Yeah.
Shit, I
Right
know
here.
where I'm going.
This fifth will keep you warm. You don't need firewood.
That ain't no joke there, man.
Thank you, Tennessee.
All right. We're coming up on 2 hours, guys. So I think let me do a rundown real quick, and then we'll open it up to the chat and see what they want to throw in because I've been kind of half-assing on y'all.
I'm gonna disappear for just a second there, boss. While you're doing that.
All right. Do
Yeah,
what you
I'm
got.
gonna run to the restroom. I'll be right back.
Fine. Leave me. Leave
You
me.
run down. You
luck,
do
Dutch.
your rundown. We're gonna do our rundown.
Okay. So first thing, or the main things that I've got here that we're going to focus on that we pretty much, and I'll take this and I'll work with it over the next couple weeks and we'll fine tune it. But water, community building, a doctor's office, or some kind of ENT type situation somewhere along those lines. Parks and things for the children, some kind of police, and on here I got bar/shop/old folks. So the rec center, and the kitchen. That's what I've got so far. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that I will focus on, and we'll go from there. What's going on, AJ's wife?
Do you have a storm shelter in the community building?
See, that's one of the things that we need to dial in because, like, if we do a root cellar, then it might as well double as the community shelter. So it's you know what I mean.
Be pretty, maybe partitioned or be pretty big. Yeah, and like barns and stuff. Yeah.
See, I think that's the thing about it is there's so many damn structures that are going to need to be built within the first year.
You need to combine.
Yeah.
Multitask them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, another thing that I was thinking about it would be like a church
I
area.
just hopped in a minute.
You can stay over there.
That's okay.
I don't put as much weight on the religious aspect of having a church. I figure if people want their religious gathering, just go to somebody's fucking house. You know what I mean?
Not mine.
You know.
Dude, it's brisk outside. I ain't gonna lie. Whew.
No, they should have had the bottle already hooked up.
Religious observance is kind of an interesting point, though. I agree. I think Mrs. AJ said just meet up in your house, or maybe Hutch said it, but I was just
said
getting
it.
back. Sorry, I was just
Hi,
getting back
Mrs.
in.
AJ.
But yeah, you'll meet, and people see church in different ways. So like minds are going to end up clicking together, for lack of a better term, whether you like it or not. And it's going to come down to some of the philosophical points of view, and not even down to work ethic and where people live and whatever,
Yeah. Agreed there. I think religion brings people together and tears them apart more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
It'll either do one or the other extremes.
Yeah, because like my dream, air quotes, big air quotes, would be, not every religion, but I don't want it to be one thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is a Christian community. I don't want to be in a Christian community. You know what I mean? It's one of those, like, I want separation of church and state is an absolute must, without question, and it can never be waived or altered. There has to be a line between leadership, survival, and what you believe. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, I agree, Bug Out. That's funny. That's so messed up.
Every time I try it doesn't. Oh, now it's working.
See, that would work.
It was.
Like, I'm not opposed to that. Eventually, a school type building would have to be built, and it could double as a. I'm not going to say a church, because it could be a mosque or synagogue also. You know what I mean? I don't want to label it to that one thing, because it's, Christians got Sunday, Jews got whatever day they are, Muslims got Friday. You know what I'm saying? It seems like it would be too much politicking for the hassle that would come out of it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Definitely. Now, like a small school, I think is a good idea. To me, a lot of the learning is going to come from, of course, the blacksmith, or the guys that are growing the trees, or all that type of stuff. That'd be, that type of schooling, of course, butchering. But yeah, some other things, math, English, things like that need to be taught 100% also.
I like Heartland Survival said about 5 minutes ago, a learning center so we can teach each other trades and skills. Essentially, having something sort of like a schoolhouse that doubles as a church, which is how it was back in the day. If people want to go there, here's the schedule for this and that, you go there. But also for teaching the skills, everybody has to barter favors, in my opinion. And I don't mean those kind of favors, boys, but I mean, we will be bartering favors. Some of you
They're not off the table, though.
They're not off the table, of course not.
Keep it in
I
your
knew
pants.
wood. I knew wood. That's what it is.
Good.
Wood shops, so to speak.
Right.
But there's going to be
Thanks, she's
people
within
that are
striking
really
distance.
good at
I'm
electric
leaving.
work that others aren't,
Right. Well, I think we've made some progress, y'all. I think we've discussed some things. Chat, now is your time. What do you want to say that you've been trying to say for 30 minutes that had nothing to do with what we were talking about 30 minutes ago? Hey, I'm down.
I was just reading that. Yeah, I was just giggling
I'm
about that.
1,000% down for that.
Right, Monique?
So,
Oh,
Auslander,
no.
love and respect, brother. But it ain't
Yeah,
got nothing
much
to do
love.
with what we're talking about right now.
Mhm. I'm really sorry to hear that, Auslander.
That's right. What happens behind the bar stays behind the bar.
Yes. We should have a room where there's like a big red rope, and whatever happens behind the rope, you cannot discuss anywhere ever.
Big 10-foot tall leather. With handcuffs and stuff.
Yeah, a 5-foot nutcracker. Once you walk past him and give him a rudder, you cannot talk about anything ever again.
Right on, TT1. Ohio, that man.
I agree 100% there. pineapple does belong on pizza.
No, it doesn't. There's no such thing as a Hawaiian pizza. Sorry.
Education makes the best argument on that, and I'm definitely all for that.
Oh man, pretty
I
stoked.
don't think you're getting any questions you're looking for there, Hutch.
I know everybody wants to be a smart ass. Let me take this. I just blocked Milkmaid for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I see that. I'm dying laughing inside.
I did that on accident to my wife on my live the other day. Somehow I blocked my wife on there.
If I'm being honest, Milkmaid, I was not going for you. I was trying to block Ohio for that statement right there.
Yeah, that's funny.
Right.
That's good there, Tennessee Tactical.
Yeah, that would definitely be that's definitely something that would have to be incorporated.
Oh yeah.
That is,
It wouldn't be like I think that's something that would happen naturally. You know what I mean?
yeah, and it is nice and relaxing. Like when you're stressed out to the max to hear just anything sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll play shit I don't even like just to have something playing.
Yeah.
What you talking about, Ron Eric? What kind of stocking cap who wears? AJ's old lady?
Yeah.
That big
Still
ass thick
on
one.
that.
No, hers actually has a headlight in it, so it's got the lights on the front. So when she's out doing chores and stuff, but she's got several of them. Pretty sure she has one she wears to bed too.
I don't know if that might be too many words, but I don't understand what you're trying to say there, bro.
Hey, KY.
Hey, the only freedom of speech that I will suppress is that nonsense about pineapples on a pizza. You're a fucking communist. Right. Kentucky, what's up? Late as hell. Sorry, I'm catching up on chat. We're at 2 hours and 7 minutes, so we ain't gonna go too much longer. I'm just making sure I'm not missing anybody. And y'all are turning into childs, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it good from here. So, Root,
We did a lot of adult.
right. Oh, go ahead. What were you saying, Ruth?
Oh, I said we did a lot of adulting.
Yeah, we did way too
We
much
did.
adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First hour and 10 minutes.
So, like I said, appreciate y'all for being on here. I got a lot of shit that I need to do now with this, and appreciate all y'all. I don't know if it will actually. I've got last week and this week. I will combine them and see what we got. So next week, next Thursday, 7 o'clock Central, the only time zone that matters. We will just do a random. I'll bring what I got. I'll try to have two different people on, and we'll basically just do like a Q&A and just nitpick everything and do it from there. And then the week after that, we'll get back into to try to hardline some shit, and we'll just play it from here and see what happens. Said it's for something like this to happen, it's not an overnight process, because everybody who's tried it to do it overnight, they rush it and they fuck it up, and it's we're gonna baby step this bitch. If it takes a year, it takes a year. You know what I mean? It's ain't no point in doing it if you ain't gonna do it right. So
Yeah, I like that thought there, for sure.
Yeah.
all right.
Well,
And
I appreciate you having us on, man.
shit, I appreciate y'all jumping on. I didn't have nothing to say. Y'all saved me.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this was fun. I really enjoyed the chat too. You guys had some really cool ideas and opened up this whole thought experiment.
And then I do believe Tribe should be live right now. If not, he should be within the next couple minutes. Oh yeah, Ghost said this earlier. Anybody who's still in here, 55 of y'all, better put them damn thumbs. Ghost said something earlier that was pretty much a great idea. If any of you guys have any ideas or want to do some drawings, Heartland sent me some drawings that are freaking awesome a while back. That I have incorporated. I got them in my stuff. So, you know, plans, schemes, comments, concerns, email the shit out of me. I'll read them. I might not answer you back. Get out of your feelings. That's just the way it is. But I will read them, I promise. And you know, we'll get it figured out. Bug out the that 40 acres that I showed is $77,000 is what it's listed for. Nope. All right, guys, get over there and watch Tribe. Show him some love and support. Hit those thumbs on the way out because I know some of y'all didn't because you're kind of dicks. But I appreciate every one of y'all, and I will see you eventually. Appreciate you.